Hello everyone, we are the group 2 and we have been assigned to discuss the module 3 which talk about getting closer to realization. And the main topic for our discussion is all about the responsible self. And when we talk about the responsible self, it entails accepting responsibility for parts of your life that you can influence. You are in charge of your life's decisions, including the path you choose and thoughts and feelings you have. So what are the lesson in responsible self? So we have here the lesson 5, Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence. Lesson 6, contributors to intelligence. Learning outcomes. Discuss the ways of accessing the various aspects of personality. Differentiate a formal assessment from an informal one and explain how the results of assessment help improve one's personality. So here we are, the lesson 5, Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence. Intelligence is often defined as our intellectual potential, something we are born with, something that can be measured, and a capacity that is difficult to change. When we hear the word intelligence, we might immediately think of IQ tests. Intelligent is our talent or abilities that simply make us intelligent. Some might be good at academics but not be good at sports. Some people excel at sports but not in the arts. In our lesson, we will discuss the multiple intelligence to have better understanding.
Multiple intelligences proposed by Harvard psychologist Howard Gardner. So this is Howard Gardner. In recent years, however, other views of intelligence have emerged. One such conception is the theory of multiple intelligences, proposed by Harvard psychologist Howard Gardner. In order to capture the full range of abilities and talents that people possess, Gardner theorizes that people do not have many kinds of intelligence, including musical, interpersonal, spatial, visual, and linguistic intelligences. While a person might be particularly strong in a specific area, such as musical intelligence, he or she most likely possesses a range of abilities. For example, an individual might be strong in verbal, musical, and naturalistic intelligence. So now, I'm going to show you a video that talks about intelligences that has 8 multiples. Hope you like it!
So, when you think of intelligence, you normally think of the one intelligence that most people refer to, and that is intellectual intelligence. And Howard Gardner says there are actually multiple types of intelligence, and I'm going to go through them with this video. Now, the first is called logical mathematical intelligence, and this is basically what you think of when you think of intellectual intelligence. This would be stuff like logic, or if you're good at taking tests, you'll probably have pretty high logical mathematical intelligence. This also has to do a lot with critical thinking and making and reading graphs, as well as organization. If you like to organize your stuff and keep it very organized and are good at organizing it, then you probably have very high logical mathematical intelligence. Now the second one is called verbal linguistic, and if you have high verbal linguistic intelligence, you are probably good at saying that word. You are good at poems, you are good at rhyming words, finding words that rhyme, you are good at reading and writing, and you're good at learning other languages. You learn them pretty quickly compared to other people. And you're probably great at turning a little tiny story into a huge, fascinating story that can enthrall an entire room. The third is interpersonal. And interpersonal intelligence would be like understanding other people's emotions, understanding what the social etiquette and norms are of this situation. You have to be able to be good at reception to other people's moods, and what motivates them. If you are a business administrator and you're good at motivating someone, you probably have pretty high interpersonal intelligence. If you're a good leader or just a manager in general, and you can coordinate work with other people, you are probably really intelligent in this interpersonal field. The fourth is body kinesthetic, which means you are good at handling and maneuvering your own body. You can handle objects skillfully and basically move them around however you want them to, as well as your body. People that are very intelligent in the body kinesthetic field are dancers, actors, soldiers, and even many sports athletes. The fifth is musical intelligence, and this is associated with rhythmic and harmonic music. Being able to interpret sounds, rhythms and tones and pitches, and being able to understand them on a level that most people can't understand. If you're good at this, you could probably compose or at least play an instrument. The next is visual spatial, and this is like basically how well can you visualize something in your mind's eye? How well can you think of something in your mind? And another example of this would be, how well can you get through a maze? Can you see it in your mind's eye where you're at in the maze or a cornfield? And Gardner went so far as to say that this could even be used as to judging distances, or how well can you read a map? And the next type of intelligence is called intrapersonal intelligence, and this is different from interpersonal intelligence. Intrapersonal intelligence is more about how you understand yourself. Are you self-aware? Do you know what feelings you are feeling, what emotions go through your mind when you are in certain situations? How well can you control your thoughts and actions and feelings in general? Do you know your strengths and weaknesses? And the last, which came out a couple years after Howard Gardner came out with his multiple intelligences theory, is called natural intelligence, naturalistic intelligence. And this has to do with being able to recognize stuff in the real world. Basically, flowers and trees and anything that's living. Hunters and fishermen are pretty intelligent in the naturalistic field. So are chefs and botanists that can grow plants. And basically anyone that is learned in any biological science is pretty intelligent in the naturalistic field. Anyways, my next video is going to be on how you can improve these, how you can become a better person through improving each one of these single intelligences to become a better human being, a smarter, a more intelligent being. I hope you learned something from this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, subscribe because I'll be putting out more videos like this soon. Thanks for watching.
Theory of multiple intelligence. There are 8 theories of multiple intelligence. The first is a visual spatial. The second is linguistic verbal. The third is interpersonal. The fourth is intrapersonal. The fifth is logical mathematical. The sixth is musical. The seventh is bodily kinesthetic. The eighth is naturalistic. Theory of multiple intelligence was first proposed by Howard Gardner. In his 1983 book, Frame of Mind, Gardner developed a series of 8 inclusion criteria while evaluating each candidate intelligence that was based on variety of scientific disciplines. Each individual's profile of intelligence may differ individually based on genetics or experience. Theory of multiple intelligence trait. These are the multiple intelligence traits: logical mathematical, verbal linguistic, interpersonal, body kinesthetic, musical, visual spatial, interpersonal, naturalistic. I give more example of theory of multiple intelligence trait. Intelligence. Mental quality consistent of the ability to learn from experience, solve problem, and use knowledge to adapt to new situations. Intelligence tests. A method for assessing an individual's mental aptitudes and comparing them with those of others using numerical scores. Factor analysis. A statistical procedure that independence clusters of related items called factors, and a test used to identify different dimensions of performance that underlie one's total score. Verification when we view an abstract concept like intelligence as if it were a concrete thing, we have made the error of verification.
Lesson 6. Contribution to intelligence. Two factors, heredity and the environment. Heredity and the environment contribute to intelligence and personality. Heredity refers to the genes one inherits from his or her parents, which provide the upper and the lower limits of his or her parent, of his or her intelligent quotient. This is the raw biological materials of intelligence. Heredity, in Latin word hereditas, meaning capital, which a child received from his or her parents. Heredity include the genetic characteristic from one generation to the next. In simple, the transmission of biological and psychological characteristic from one parent to their offspring. According to R.S. Woodworth, heredity covers all the factors that are present in the individual when he began life, not at birth but at the time of conception, about 9 months before birth. Heredity is an individual condition present in the germ cell, and everything that takes place after conception, it is very complex, and it determines what an organism may become and what not it will become. Example is the likelihood that you will have a blue eyes, skin color, height, hair, and etc. The next factor is the environment. Environment involves the experience and the psychological and physical exposure of the individuals to the various influence around him or her. The home, school, and the community, as well as the things happening therein, are example of one's environment. So everything that surrounds us is called environment. In human psychology, environment include the nutrition the child receives, school, peer groups, and etc. Environment can be described as something that individual receive from conception till death. And it is said that the social environment is a very stimulating and enriching. It will create favorable impressions in the person on his or her development, and if the environment is dull or insipid, the behavior is likely to be shaped in an unhealthy way. Absence of adequate stimulation in the environment is liable. The cause various emotional deficiencies in the individual. According to Woodworth, environment covers all the outside factors that have act on the individual since he began life. What is the importance of environment? It guides the development process of a child, and to control emotion can be created among the student, and it helps also to the teacher to create better environment according to the needs of the child. So, what is the difference between heredity and environment? Heredity is internal, while environment is external. Heredity is nurture, while environment is nurture. Heredity, genes, and DNA, while environment is physical and social. And which has a bigger effect on us? We don't really know. So, both have an equal significant effect on our growth and development. Example is the trait that are hereditary, our skin color. We have each type of our skin color. We have a black skin, brown skin, and white skin, and can be affected by environment by sun tanning. And the traits that are environmentally determined, the weight, can be affected by the heredity, the metabolism. And other example is the disease can have a higher likelihood of developing when it is in the family. The lung cancer. But what you eat, drink, and do also affect this is by smoking.
Let us proceed to my topic. My topic is all about motivation. Motivation is pagdasig. When we say motivation, motivation is the force that moves people to behave, think, and feel the way they do. For example, trying your best to finish college is an example of motivation to improve your life status. Motivation is the habak concept map. First is evolutionary theory, drive reduction theory, optimum or result theory, and lastly, cognitive approach. So, kana sila atong isa-isahon ng concept map of motivation. First is evolutionary theory. According to this theory, the motivation for sex, achievement, aggression, and other behavior is rooted in the organism's evolutionary past 2000. Kani siya nga theory kay ang ginamin ana is kanang motivation sa sex, achievement, aggression, and others kasagaran nila gikan pa sa evolutionary past. Motivation for sex, achievement, aggression, and others is already example of evolutionary theory. So they have another example of evolutionary theory. Ang tao gituohan nga ang root of evolution is ang monkey. Possible nga ang kanang motivation for sex, achievement, aggression, o uban pa is nag-exist na when human is still a monkey. And second is drive reduction theory. This theory explains that organisms are driven by psychological needs, and needs energized ones drive to eliminate or reduce that depression. So it means drive reduction theory that explains organisms are driven by psychological needs. For example, if one feels hungry is the motivator for him or her to look for the food and eat it to reduce the drive and satisfy the need. Third, optimum arousal theory. The Yerkes-Dodson law states that performance is at its highest under condition of moderate arousal rather than high or low arousal. At times, the level of arousal may also depend on the kind of task in hand. So, the optimal arousal theory states that we seek to attain optimal arousal level because by achieving the optimal arousal level, we can perform at our best. We know that we have reached the optimal arousal level when we are comfortable physically, emotionally, and intellectually. For example, in solving mathematics problem, a lower level of arousal is preferred because spends more time to solve is even if the process takes longer. And lastly, cognitive approach. The contemporary view of motivation emphasizes that cognitive factors determine motivation level. When we say cognitive approach, mo ni siya ang nagpasiugda nga ang mga hinungdan sa paghunahuna nagtino sa level sa atong pagpadasig. For example, is a student motivation to do well in class one's confidence in her or his ability to do well, and the expectation for success may help the person relax and concentrate study better.
Two aspects of cognitive approach. So first we have intrinsic. What is intrinsic? Intrinsic refers to internal factors like self-determination, curiosity, challenge, and effort. Intrinsic simply means comes from within. I have here one example of intrinsic. You are participating in a sport because it's fun and you enjoy it rather than doing it to win an award. So why is it intrinsic? Because you are participating it without thinking an award or doing it for the win. But You join because it's fun and makes you happy. Aside from that, you did it for your own sake and get personal satisfaction. So let's continue to extrinsic. What is extrinsic? Involves outside factors such as rewards and punishment. Extrinsic means comes from outside or arises from external factors. Like for an example, being paid to do a job. You may enjoy spending your day doing something other than work, but you're motivated to go to work because you need a paycheck to pay your bills. So in this example, you're extrinsically motivated by the ability to afford your daily expenses. In short, you do something in order to gain an external reward. So the main difference between intrinsic and extrinsic is that intrinsic motivation involves doing something because it's personally to you, while the extrinsic motivation involves doing something because you want to earn a reward. So that is the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic. So that's all. Thank you for listening and I hope you guys enjoy.